The morning sun cast long shadows across the Afghan mountains as Chief Petty Officer Marcus Rodriguez adjusted his binoculars. 23 years in the Navy SEALs had taught him to trust his instincts, and right now, every fiber of his being was screaming that something was wrong. The village of Calabad lay silent below, too silent for a place that should have been bustling with morning activity. Rodriguez had been leading reconnaissance missions in this region for 6 months, but today felt different. Intelligence reports suggested a high-value target was moving through the area, and his team had been tasked with observation and possible elimination. What they hadn't expected was to encounter another sniper already in position. Through his scope, Rodriguez spotted movement on a ridge approximately 800 meters to his east. The figure was partially concealed behind a cluster of rocks, but the distinctive profile of a Barrett M82 50 caliber rifle was unmistakable. What caught his attention wasn't just the weapon, but the precision with which it was being handled. The movements were fluid, calculated, and entirely too professional for a typical insurgent. "Chief, you seeing this?" whispered Petty Officer Thompson, his spotter, as he tracked the same position through his own optics. Rodriguez nodded slowly, never taking his eyes off the mysterious figure. The person behind that Barrett moved with the kind of discipline that took years to develop. Every adjustment was minimal, every position change deliberate. This wasn't some amateur with stolen military equipment. This was a trained professional. As the morning progressed, Rodriguez found himself studying the unknown sniper with growing fascination. The way they read wind patterns, adjusted for elevation, and maintained perfect concealment spoke of extensive training. But something else nagged at him. The body language, the way they held the weapon, even the tactical gear visible through his scope suggested this might not be who he expected. The village below began to show signs of life. Civilians emerged from buildings, children played in dusty streets, and vendors set up their modest stalls. It was then that Rodriguez noticed the pattern. The unknown sniper wasn't targeting civilians. Instead, they seemed to be tracking specific individuals, following certain people with the rifle's scope while ignoring others entirely. "Chief, movement in the compound," Thompson reported, directing Rodriguez's attention to a fortified building on the village's northern edge. Through his binoculars, Rodriguez could see armed men taking positions on rooftops and behind walls. These weren't civilians or local police. Their weapons, tactical gear, and coordinated movements marked them as hostile combatants. The mysterious sniper had apparently noticed the same thing. Rodriguez watched as the figure adjusted position slightly, the Barrett's muzzle tracking toward the compound. For nearly an hour, both snipers observed the same target area, neither aware of the other's specific mission. It was around midday when everything changed. A convoy of 3 vehicles approached the village from the south, kicking up clouds of dust that could be seen for miles. Rodriguez immediately recognized the tactical significance. This had to be their high-value target. The insurgent leader intelligence had been tracking for weeks. The vehicles stopped at the fortified compound, and Rodriguez watched through his scope as several men emerged. Even at this distance, he could identify the target from the briefing photos. A tall man with a distinctive beard, wearing traditional robes but carrying himself with the confidence of a military commander. This was Hassan al-Masri, a bomb maker responsible for attacks that had killed dozens of coalition soldiers. Rodriguez was preparing to radio his findings to base when he noticed the other sniper making final adjustments. The Barrett was now aimed directly at the compound, and the figure behind it had assumed a perfect firing position. Rodriguez found himself in an unexpected situation. His mission was to observe and report, but another sniper was about to engage the same target. The professional in him recognized the skill being displayed across the valley. The unknown sniper had calculated distance, wind speed, and elevation with apparent expertise. The weapon was steady, the position optimal, and the target clearly identified. But military protocol demanded that Rodriguez identify any unknown combatants in his area of operations. "Thompson, get me a better angle on our friend with the Barrett," Rodriguez ordered quietly. As his spotter adjusted position, Rodriguez continued his observation. The mysterious sniper remained motionless, finger likely on the trigger, waiting for the perfect moment. Rodriguez had seen this kind of patience before, but only among the most elite marksmen. Whoever this was had been trained to wait for the ideal shot, regardless of how long it took. The target, Al-Masri, emerged from one of the vehicles and began walking toward the compound entrance. He moved casually, apparently unaware that at least 2 different snipers had him in their crosshairs. Rodriguez calculated the distance at approximately 200 meters from his position, but the other sniper appeared to be much farther away, possibly over 2,000 meters from the target. "Chief, I'm getting a clearer picture of our mystery shooter," Thompson whispered, his voice carrying a note of surprise. Rodriguez shifted his attention back to the distant ridge. Through his high-powered scope, he could now make out more details of the figure behind the Barrett. The tactical gear was professional grade, the weapon handling was flawless, but something about the body structure was making him question his initial assumptions. The sniper's frame appeared smaller than he had first thought, more compact but no less professional in bearing. The way they held the massive rifle suggested not just training, but extensive experience with that specific weapon system. Rodriguez had worked with many Barrett operators over the years, and this person demonstrated the kind of expertise that came only from hundreds of hours behind the scope. As Al-Masri paused in the compound courtyard, apparently giving instructions to his men, Rodriguez realized both snipers were now tracking the same target. The moment of truth was approaching, and he still hadn't identified the unknown shooter who seemed as capable and professional as any military sniper he had ever observed. The tension in the air was palpable as Rodriguez watched 2 worlds collide in the crosshairs of a Barrett .50 caliber rifle, operated by someone whose identity would soon shock him to his core. The seconds stretched like hours as Rodriguez watched the scene unfold through his scope. Hassan Al-Masri stood in the compound courtyard, completely unaware that death was tracking him from multiple positions. The unknown sniper with the Barrett remained perfectly still, displaying the kind of discipline that separated true professionals from amateurs. Rodriguez had made a decision. Protocol demanded he identify any unknown combatants, but something about this situation felt different. The mysterious sniper wasn't behaving like an enemy. Their target selection, positioning, and patience all suggested someone with similar training and objectives. Still, he couldn't take chances with his team's safety. "Thompson, I need you to maintain overwatch on the compound. I'm moving to get a better identification on our Barrett friend," Rodriguez whispered into his radio. "Copy that, Chief. Be advised, target is still active in the courtyard. Multiple hostiles visible." Rodriguez began a careful approach, using the natural terrain to mask his movement. Years of experience in these mountains had taught him every rock formation and gully that could provide concealment. His route would take him closer to the unknown sniper's position, while maintaining visual contact with the primary target area. As he moved, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that he was dealing with someone special. The way the sniper held position, never fidgeting or making unnecessary adjustments, spoke of extraordinary discipline. Most shooters, even trained ones, would show some sign of tension during such a long observation period. This person remained as still as the rocks around them. 20 minutes into his approach, Rodriguez had closed the distance to approximately 400 meters. From this new angle, he could see more details through his scope. The tactical gear was top tier, clearly military issue but without any visible unit markings. The rifle itself appeared to be a Barrett M107A1, one of the most advanced anti-material rifles in the world, not exactly standard equipment for insurgent forces. What struck Rodriguez most was the sniper's shooting position. It was textbook perfect, demonstrating training that rivaled anything he had seen in SEAL teams. The weapon was supported properly, body alignment was optimal, and breathing appeared controlled and rhythmic. This person had definitely been trained by professionals. "Chief, target's moving toward the building entrance." Thompson's voice crackled through his earpiece. Rodriguez shifted his attention back to the compound. Al-Masri was indeed walking toward the main building, flanked by 2 bodyguards. It was the perfect moment for a long-range shot, and Rodriguez found himself wondering if the unknown sniper would take it. Through his scope, he watched the Barrett's muzzle track smoothly with the target's movement. The adjustment was minimal but precise, showing intimate familiarity with the weapon's characteristics. Rodriguez estimated the shot distance at over 2,000 meters, an extremely challenging shot even for the most skilled marksman. The wind in the valley was variable, swirling between the mountain peaks in unpredictable patterns. Rodriguez had attempted shots at similar distances and knew how difficult it was to read these conditions accurately. Yet the unknown sniper seemed confident, making tiny adjustments that suggested they were reading the environment like a book. Al-Masri stopped again, this time directly in front of the building entrance. He appeared to be having an animated conversation with someone inside, gesturing broadly with his hands. For a sniper, it was the kind of stationary target that represented an ideal opportunity. Rodriguez held his breath as he watched the scene through dual perspectives. Through one eye, he observed the target standing exposed in the compound. Through his scope's eye, he studied the unknown sniper who remained frozen in perfect shooting position. The Barrett's massive barrel pointed steadily toward the target, unwavering despite the distance and environmental challenges. The shot, when it came, surprised even Rodriguez with its suddenness. The Barrett's distinctive boom echoed across the valley, a sound he had heard countless times in training and combat. But this time was different. This time he was watching from a unique vantage point that allowed him to see both the shooter and the target simultaneously. The .50 caliber round covered the distance in just over 2 seconds. Rodriguez watched through his scope as Al-Masri suddenly staggered, then collapsed in the compound courtyard. The precision was absolutely stunning. At over 2,000 meters in variable wind conditions, the shot had been perfect. "Holy shit, Chief. Target is down." Thompson's excited voice filled Rodriguez's earpiece. "Single shot center mass." That was one hell of a shot. Rodriguez was already moving, his curiosity about the unknown sniper now overwhelming his tactical caution. He had to know who had just demonstrated such extraordinary marksmanship. The shot he had witnessed was beyond impressive. It was the kind of shooting that legends were made of. As he approached the sniper's position, Rodriguez could see the figure beginning to pack up equipment with the same methodical precision shown in the shooting. Every movement was efficient and practiced, suggesting someone accustomed to rapid extraction after engaging targets. When Rodriguez finally reached a position where he could see clearly, what he observed through his scope stopped him cold. The person efficiently breaking down the Barrett M107A1 was not the bearded insurgent or foreign mercenary he had expected. Instead, he found himself looking at a woman. She appeared to be in her late 20s or early 30s with auburn hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her tactical gear fit properly, suggesting it was her own equipment rather than something borrowed or stolen. Every movement spoke of extensive training and real combat experience. She handled the massive rifle with the ease of someone who had fired it hundreds of times. Rodriguez remained hidden, watching as she completed her equipment breakdown in under 3 minutes. Her efficiency was remarkable, and her situational awareness was clearly excellent. She constantly scanned her surroundings while working, never becoming so focused on packing that she forgot about potential threats. As she prepared to move from her position, Rodriguez faced a critical decision. Military protocol demanded he intercept and identify any unknown combatants in his area of operations. But this woman had just eliminated a high-value target that his own team had been assigned to observe. She was clearly on the same side, even if her presence was unexpected and unauthorized. The woman shouldered her equipment pack and began moving down the ridge with the confident stride of someone who knew exactly where they were going. Rodriguez found himself following at a distance, his curiosity overwhelming his better judgment. He had just witnessed one of the most impressive sniper shots of his career, executed by someone who definitely wasn't supposed to be in this operational area. "Chief, what's your status?" Thompson's voice brought Rodriguez back to immediate concerns. "Continuing recon on the unknown shooter. Maintain overwatch on the compound and document everything for the after-action report." "Copy that." "Chief, that shot was incredible. Whoever that was, they just saved us a lot of trouble." Rodriguez couldn't argue with that assessment. The mission objective had been accomplished, albeit not by his team. Now he needed to find out who this mysterious woman was, and how she had ended up in his operational area with a Barrett .50 caliber rifle and the skills to use it with deadly precision. Rodriguez maintained his pursuit, keeping approximately 300 meters between himself and the mysterious woman. Her movement through the terrain was impressive, following routes that maximized concealment while maintaining good speed. She clearly knew these mountains well, choosing paths that would be invisible to casual observation from the valley below. Every few minutes, she would stop and conduct a thorough scan of her surroundings, using military standard techniques for counter-surveillance. Rodriguez had to admit her fieldcraft was exceptional, If he hadn't been specifically tracking her from the beginning, he might have lost her several times already. As they moved deeper into the mountain terrain, Rodriguez began to recognize their general direction. They were heading toward a series of caves and abandoned mining tunnels that intelligence reports had mentioned as possible insurgent hideouts. But the woman's confident navigation suggested she wasn't exploring. She knew exactly where she was going. After 40 minutes of careful tracking, the woman approached what appeared to be a natural cave entrance hidden behind a cluster of large boulders. Rodriguez positioned himself on a ridge overlooking the area and settled in for observation. Through his scope, he watched her perform a series of specific hand signals before approaching the entrance. To Rodriguez's surprise, the signals were answered. Two figures emerged from concealment near the cave mouth, both carrying military-style weapons and wearing tactical gear similar to the woman's. The greeting between them was clearly familiar and professional, suggesting this was a planned rendezvous rather than a chance encounter. One of the figures was a tall, lean man with graying hair and the bearing of a military officer. The other appeared to be a younger woman, possibly in her early 20s, carrying what looked like a custom sniper rifle. Rodriguez adjusted his scope to get a better view of their equipment, and was surprised by what he saw. All three individuals carried high-end military equipment that would be extremely difficult for civilians to acquire. Their weapons, optics, and gear suggested either active military personnel or extremely well-funded private operators. More importantly, their behavior and positioning indicated they were professionals who took security seriously. Rodriguez activated his radio on a secure frequency. "Thompson, I need you to contact base and request any information about friendly forces operating in Grid Square 47 Delta. I'm observing what appears to be a professional team at coordinates I'm about to transmit." "Copy that. Chief, stand by for response." While waiting for intelligence feedback, Rodriguez continued his observation. The woman who had made the incredible shot was now engaged in what appeared to be a detailed debrief with her companions. She had produced a tablet device and was showing them something on the screen, possibly photos or video of the target engagement. The older man listened intently, occasionally asking questions that prompted detailed responses from the woman. Rodriguez could see their lips moving but was too far away to hear actual conversation. Their body language suggested this was a professional after-action review, the kind conducted by military units after completing missions. "Chief, base reports no friendly forces authorized in your area of operations." Thompson's voice crackled through the radio. "They're requesting immediate identification and status of any unknown personnel." This complicated things significantly. If these weren't authorized friendly forces, Rodriguez needed to determine their intentions and affiliations. But approaching three well-armed professionals without backup was risky, especially given the skill level he had already witnessed. Rodriguez decided to continue observation and gather more intelligence before making contact. The group's behavior would tell him a lot about their intentions and training. If they were hostile, they would eventually reveal themselves through their actions and movement patterns. Over the next hour, Rodriguez watched the team conduct what appeared to be a planning session. They had spread out what looked like maps and satellite photos, discussing something with obvious intensity. The woman who had made the shot seemed to be taking the lead in whatever they were planning, pointing to specific locations and drawing what appeared to be route lines. The professional nature of their planning was evident even from Rodriguez's distant observation point. They were using proper military planning procedures, complete with contingency routes and what appeared to be timeline coordination. This was an amateur hour. These people knew what they were doing. Around midday, the team began preparing to move again. Rodriguez watched them pack their equipment with the same efficiency he had observed earlier. Every piece of gear had a specific place, and their load distribution suggested they were planning for an extended operation rather than a quick extraction. As they prepared to leave the cave area, Rodriguez noticed something that made his blood run cold. The younger woman was carrying a device that looked remarkably similar to a remote detonator, and the older man had what appeared to be explosive detection equipment. If this team was planning some kind of bombing operation, Rodriguez needed to intervene immediately. But before he could make a decision about contact, his radio crackled with an urgent message from Thompson. "Chief, I'm getting reports of multiple explosion signatures from the compound area. Sounds like secondary detonations." possibly ammunition or explosives cooking off. Rodriguez quickly shifted his scope back toward the valley. In the distance, he could see smoke rising from the compound where Al-Masri had been killed. The Barrett shot had apparently triggered some kind of chain reaction, suggesting the building had contained significant quantities of explosives or ammunition. This revelation changed everything. The woman's shot hadn't just eliminated a high-value target, it had apparently destroyed a major insurgent weapons cache. The precision required to trigger such secondary explosions suggested she had known exactly where to aim and what the results would be. Rodriguez turned his attention back to the mystery team, but they had vanished. In the few minutes he had been observing the compound explosions, they had disappeared completely from the cave area. Their extraction had been so smooth and professional that even an experienced SEAL tracker had lost them. Thompson, the unknown team has gone dark. I'm losing visual contact and need to reassess the situation. Copy that, Chief. Base is requesting your immediate return for debrief. They want a full report on the target elimination and the unknown personnel. Rodriguez began his own withdrawal, but his mind was racing with questions. Who was this woman who could make impossible shots with a Barrett 50? How did she know about the explosives in the compound? And most importantly, whose side was she really on? As he moved back toward his team's extraction point, Rodriguez couldn't shake the feeling that he had just witnessed something extraordinary. The shot he had observed was already being called miraculous by his spotter, but Rodriguez suspected there was much more to this story than anyone realized. The woman with the Barrett was clearly no ordinary sniper, and her team was obviously conducting operations in the same area as his SEAL unit. Whether they were allies or competitors, Rodriguez knew he would need to find out more about their mission and capabilities. One thing was certain. The shot he had witnessed would haunt his professional dreams, and the woman who made it had just raised the bar for what he considered possible in long-range precision shooting. 3 days after the incident, Rodriguez found himself in a windowless briefing room at Forward Operating Base Chapman, staring at classified files that made his earlier questions seem trivial. The woman with the Barrett 50 had a name, a history, and a reputation that explained everything he had witnessed in those mountains. Colonel Sarah Mitchell, former U.S. Army Special Forces sniper, holder of multiple marksmanship records, and according to the files in front of him, officially dead for the past 18 months. The photograph in her military service record matched perfectly with the woman he had observed making that impossible shot. Chief Rodriguez, what you witnessed was Operation Ghost Protocol, explained Lieutenant Colonel Patricia Hayes, the intelligence officer conducting his debrief. Colonel Mitchell was declared killed in action during a classified mission in Syria. In reality, she was recruited for a deep cover operation that requires her official death to be maintained. Rodriguez studied the files more carefully. Mitchell's military record was extraordinary. She had completed Ranger School, Special Forces qualification, and advanced sniper training with scores that ranked among the highest ever recorded. Her confirmed kill count was impressive, but more importantly, her average engagement distance was significantly higher than typical sniper operations. Ma'am, the shot I observed was over 2,000 meters in difficult conditions. Even with Colonel Mitchell's record, that's an exceptional shot. Colonel Hayes nodded, pulling out another file. That shot was actually 247 meters, Chief. We have satellite confirmation of the exact distance. It's officially the longest confirmed kill shot in military history, breaking the previous record by over 800 meters. Rodriguez felt his jaw drop. He had estimated the distance at over 2,000 meters, but 3,247 meters was nearly 2 miles. At that distance, the bullet would have been in flight for over 7 seconds, requiring calculations that accounted for Earth's rotation, multiple wind patterns, temperature variations, and atmospheric pressure changes. How is that even possible, ma'am? Colonel Mitchell didn't just break the record by accident, Hayes continued. She's been working with advanced ballistics computers, custom ammunition, and environmental monitoring equipment that's still classified. The Barrett she was using has been modified with systems that most snipers have never seen. The intelligence officer spread out additional photographs showing Mitchell's equipment in detail. The rifle was indeed a Barrett M107A1, but it had been fitted with advanced optics, a weather monitoring system, and what appeared to be a ballistics computer integrated into the scope assembly. Her team includes Dr. Marcus Chen, a ballistics expert from MIT, and Sergeant First Class Lisa Torres, a spotter with advanced meteorology training. Together, they've been developing techniques and equipment that push the boundaries of what's possible in long-range shooting. Rodriguez began to understand why the team had seemed so professional and well-equipped. They weren't just conducting random operations. They were testing and perfecting advanced sniper techniques while eliminating high-value targets that regular military units couldn't reach. What's their current mission status, ma'am? They're hunting the top tier of insurgent leadership, targets that are too well protected or too remote for conventional operations. Mitchell's team can eliminate targets that would otherwise require full-scale military assaults with significant casualties. Hayes pulled out a map showing the region where Rodriguez had encountered the team. Red dots marked locations where similar long-range eliminations had occurred over the past 6 months. The pattern showed a systematic campaign against insurgent leadership across multiple countries. Each of these eliminations was conducted at distances exceeding 2,500 meters, Hayes explained. Traditional military snipers simply cannot operate effectively at these ranges. Mitchell's team has created new possibilities for precision elimination operations. Rodriguez studied the map, recognizing several locations where his own SEAL teams had been tasked with difficult target elimination missions. In each case, the targets had been eliminated before SEAL teams could deploy, often preventing the need for dangerous ground operations. Ma'am, are they coordinating with existing military operations? To a limited extent, Mitchell's team operates independently, but receives intelligence support and target designation from various special operations commands. Your observation of her elimination of Al-Masri was actually fortuitous. We lost radio contact with her team 3 days before the operation. This revelation concerned Rodriguez. If Mitchell's team was operating without proper communication and coordination, they could inadvertently interfere with other operations or put themselves at unnecessary risk. Colonel Hayes, I'd like to request permission to establish contact with Mitchell's team. My unit operates in the same region, and coordination could benefit both operations. Hayes considered this request carefully. Chief, Mitchell's cover requires that very few people know she's alive. Her team's effectiveness depends partly on the intelligence community believing she's dead. Any official contact would need to be carefully managed. Rodriguez understood the complexity, but felt strongly about the operational benefits. Ma'am, the shot I witnessed potentially saved my team from a dangerous ground assault. If Mitchell's team is operating in our area, coordination could prevent friendly fire incidents and improve our collective effectiveness. After several minutes of consideration, Hayes made a decision. I'm going to authorize limited coordination between your unit and Mitchell's team, but this comes with strict conditions and security requirements. Hayes opened another classified file containing communication protocols and coordination procedures. Mitchell's team uses encrypted radio frequencies that change daily. They also employ dead drop locations for intelligence sharing and have established emergency contact procedures. Rodriguez reviewed the protocols, noting their sophistication. Mitchell's team had clearly been operating independently for months, developing their own security procedures and communication methods. Their level of operational security rivaled anything he had seen in SEAL teams. Chief, there's something else you need to understand about Colonel Mitchell, Hayes continued, her tone becoming more serious. The official story of her death in Syria isn't entirely fabricated. She was severely wounded in that operation and spent 4 months in a classified medical facility. Hayes showed Rodriguez medical reports that detailed extensive injuries from an IED explosion. Mitchell had suffered traumatic brain injury, multiple broken bones, and severe nerve damage to her right arm. According to the medical reports, her injuries should have ended her military career permanently. How did she recover enough to achieve the level of marksmanship I witnessed? Experimental medical procedures and rehabilitation techniques that are still classified, Hayes explained. Mitchell volunteered for procedures that carried significant risks, but offered the possibility of full recovery. She essentially became a test case for advanced military medicine. The medical files showed a rehabilitation process that lasted nearly a year, involving experimental nerve regeneration procedures, advanced physical therapy, and psychological counseling. Mitchell had not only recovered from injuries that should have been career-ending, she had actually improved her capabilities beyond their original levels. The ballistics computer system and advanced equipment aren't just tools, Hayes continued. They're partially compensating for lingering effects of her injuries while enhancing her natural abilities. Mitchell represents the future of military sniper operations. Rodriguez began to see the bigger picture. Mitchell's team wasn't just conducting elimination operations. They were proving that advanced technology combined with exceptional training could create capabilities that exceeded traditional human limitations. Ma'am, what are the long-term objectives for this program? To develop techniques and equipment that can be deployed with conventional sniper teams, Hayes replied. Mitchell's operations are essentially field testing for systems that could eventually equip multiple sniper teams across all military branches. Hayes showed Rodriguez prototype equipment that was being developed based on Mitchell's field experiences, advanced optics, ballistics computers, environmental monitoring systems, and communication gear that could transform how military snipers operated in the field. Chief, your observation of Mitchell's record-breaking shot provides valuable independent verification of her capabilities. Your report will be included in the evaluation of whether this program should be expanded. Rodriguez realized his accidental encounter with Mitchell's team had provided him with a glimpse into the future of military operations. The woman with the Barrett 50 wasn't just an exceptional sniper. She was a living demonstration of how technology and human skill could be combined to create unprecedented capabilities. When will I be able to establish contact with Mitchell's team? Tomorrow, Chief. Mitchell has been informed that she'll be meeting with a SEAL team leader who witnessed her operation. She's expressed interest in coordination, especially given that your units are operating in overlapping areas. Hayes handed Rodriguez a sealed envelope containing coordinates and timing for the meeting. Chief, this meeting could shape how Special Operations Forces coordinate in the future. Mitchell's team has capabilities that could support multiple SEAL operations, but only if proper coordination can be established. As Rodriguez prepared to leave the briefing room, Hayes added one final piece of information. Chief Colonel Mitchell specifically requested to meet the SEAL who had the skill to track her team after the Al-Mazri elimination. She was impressed that you managed to follow her despite her counter-surveillance measures. Rodriguez felt a mixture of professional pride and anticipation. Tomorrow he would finally meet the woman whose impossible shot had redefined his understanding of what was achievable in sniper operations. More important, the meeting location was an abandoned shepherd's hut high in the mountains, chosen for its remoteness and excellent fields of observation. Rodriguez arrived 30 minutes early, as was his habit, and established overwatch positions for his team. Thompson and 2 other SEALs were positioned to provide security while remaining invisible to the approaching team. Rodriguez had spent the night studying everything he could find about Colonel Sarah Mitchell. Her service record was remarkable, but the medical reports haunted him. The idea that someone could recover from such devastating injuries to achieve record-breaking marksmanship seemed almost impossible. At exactly 800 hours, Rodriguez spotted movement on the ridge approaching the hut. 3 figures moved with the same professional discipline he had observed days earlier. Mitchell's team approached using proper tactical movement, with one member providing overwatch while the others advanced in coordinated bounds. As they drew closer, Rodriguez got his first clear look at Colonel Mitchell in person. She was smaller than he had expected, probably no more than 5'6", but her bearing was unmistakably military. She moved with the confident stride of someone accustomed to command. Despite officially being dead for 18 months, Mitchell approached the hut alone, leaving her team members in concealed positions approximately 200 meters away. Rodriguez appreciated the security measure and did the same, walking out to meet her with his own team maintaining overwatch from hidden positions. Chief Rodriguez, I presume, Mitchell said, extending her hand in greeting. Her grip was firm, and Rodriguez noticed slight scarring on her right hand that probably resulted from her injuries in Syria. Colonel Mitchell, it's an honor to meet someone with your reputation and accomplishments. The honor is mutual, Chief. Not many people could have tracked my team after an operation. Your fieldcraft is impressive. They walked toward the hut together, both maintaining situational awareness while engaging in conversation. Rodriguez noticed that Mitchell constantly scanned their surroundings, never allowing her attention to focus entirely on their discussion. Colonel, I have to ask about that shot. Over 200 meters in variable wind conditions. How is that even possible? Mitchell smiled slightly the first time Rodriguez had seen her expression change from professional seriousness. Combination of technology, training, and honestly, a bit of luck. But mostly preparation and understanding the physics involved. She showed Rodriguez a tablet device that displayed wind patterns, atmospheric pressure, temperature gradients, and dozens of other environmental factors. Dr. Chen developed software that processes environmental data in real time and calculates ballistic solutions that account for variables most snipers never consider. Rodriguez studied the tablet screen, trying to understand the complex calculations being displayed. This is like having a ballistics laboratory in the field. Exactly. Traditional sniper training teaches you to estimate and compensate for basic environmental factors. This system measures everything precisely and calculates solutions that would be impossible to determine manually. Mitchell explained how the system worked during actual shooting situations. Environmental sensors continuously monitored conditions. The ballistics computer calculated firing solutions, and her modified scope displayed precise aiming points that accounted for all variables. But technology is only part of the equation, Mitchell continued. The shot still requires precise trigger control, perfect breathing technique, and the ability to hold steady for the 7+ seconds the bullet is in flight. Rodriguez found himself fascinated by the technical aspects, but also curious about the human elements. Colonel, how do you maintain focus during such long shots? 7 seconds is an eternity in combat situations. Years of meditation training, breathing exercises, and mental conditioning, Mitchell replied. The military taught me to shoot, but the advanced techniques came from studying martial arts, yoga, and even some Eastern philosophy about mental control. This revelation surprised Rodriguez. He had never considered non-military training as relevant to sniper operations. But Mitchell's results spoke for themselves. Chief, I understand your unit operates in the same regions where my team conducts operations. I'd like to propose coordination that could benefit both our missions. Mitchell spread out a map showing the area where they had first encountered each other. Red marks indicated locations where her team had eliminated targets, while blue marks showed areas where SEAL operations had been conducted. As you can see, we're operating in overlapping territories. Better coordination could prevent conflicts and might allow for supporting fires during your ground operations. Rodriguez studied the map, recognizing several locations where his team had conducted difficult missions. Colonel, there were 2 operations last month where our targets were eliminated before we could deploy. Were those your team's work? Probably. We received target packages for high-value individuals in this region and eliminated them at long range. If your team was also tasked with those targets, our operations inadvertently supported your mission. This confirmed Rodriguez's suspicion that Mitchell's team was working from the same intelligence sources as SEAL operations. Better coordination could indeed improve effectiveness for both units. What kind of coordination are you proposing? Mitchell outlined a system for sharing target information, coordinating timing to prevent conflicts, and potentially providing long-range support for SEAL ground operations. Her team's ability to eliminate targets at extreme distances could reduce risks for ground teams in certain situations. My team can engage targets that are impossible to reach with conventional operations. Your team can handle close-quarters situations that require ground presence. Together, we could cover a much broader range of operational requirements. Rodriguez found the proposal compelling, but he had concerns about security and command authority. Colonel, how would this coordination work from a command perspective? Your team operates under different authority than SEAL operations. Parallel operations with shared intelligence and coordinated timing, Mitchell replied. We maintain separate command structures, but share enough information to prevent conflicts and identify opportunities for mutual support. She showed Rodriguez communication, equipment that would allow secure coordination between their teams, encrypted radios, emergency frequencies, and protocols for intelligence sharing that maintained operational security for both units. Chief, I have to ask about your team's capabilities. Dr. Chen is curious about SEAL, techniques for close target reconnaissance that might improve our target identification and engagement procedures. Rodriguez described his team's methods for target confirmation, environmental assessment, and close-range observation. Mitchell listened intently, asking detailed questions about techniques that could enhance her team's long-range operations. Colonel, your ballistic system is impressive, but how do you confirm target identification at such extreme distances? Mitchell explained how her team used advanced optics, satellite imagery, and electronic surveillance to confirm targets before engagement. Dr. Chen had developed procedures that combined multiple information sources to ensure positive identification, even at distances exceeding 3,000 meters. As their meeting progressed, Rodriguez began to see how their capabilities could complement each other. Mitchell's team could eliminate targets that were too distant or well protected for ground assault, while SEAL teams could handle situations requiring close-quarters engagement or detailed intelligence gathering. Colonel, I think coordination between our teams could significantly improve operational effectiveness, but we'll need approval from both our command structures. Already in progress, Chief. My handler is coordinating with SEAL Command to establish formal protocols. This meeting was partly to determine if field-level coordination was practical and beneficial. Rodriguez felt optimistic about the possibilities. Mitchell's team represented capabilities he had never imagined possible, while his SEAL team provided tactical flexibility that could support their operations. When do you expect approval for formal coordination? Within the week, Chief. In the meantime, we'll continue operating in the same region. If you encounter situations where long-range precision fires could be beneficial, contact us on the emergency frequency I'm providing. As their meeting concluded, Rodriguez realized he had just participated in a conversation that might change how special operations forces work together in the future. The woman with the Barrett 50 had opened his eyes to possibilities he had never considered. He would have the opportunity to establish coordination that could save lives and improve mission effectiveness for both teams. 2 weeks later, Rodriguez found himself on another mountain ridge, but this time everything was different. Instead of accidentally encountering an unknown sniper, he was conducting a coordinated operation with Colonel Mitchell's team. The target was Ahmad Kassab, a bomb maker whose devices had killed over 40 coalition soldiers in the past year. Kassab had been impossible to reach through conventional operations. His compound was located in a valley surrounded by hostile territory, defended by heavily armed guards, and positioned where any ground assault would result in significant casualties. For Mitchell's team, however, he was just another long-range target. Chief, we have eyes on the target compound. Mitchell's voice came through Rodriguez's encrypted radio. Her team was positioned on a ridge approximately 3,800 meters from the target, while Rodriguez's SEAL team was positioned to provide security and conduct battle damage assessment. Copy that, Overwatch. Target has been positively identified and is currently in the compound courtyard, Rodriguez responded, using the code name they had established for Mitchell's team. Through his scope, Rodriguez could see Kassab moving around the compound, apparently supervising the construction of some kind of defensive position. Intelligence reports suggested he was preparing for a major operation, making his elimination a high priority for coalition forces. Overwatch. Environmental conditions look challenging today, Rodriguez observed. The wind in the valley was gusting unpredictably, and afternoon heat was creating thermal layers that could affect bullet trajectory. Copy that, Chief. Dr. Chen is calculating firing solutions now. We're seeing temperature gradients and wind shear that will require complex ballistic adjustments. Rodriguez had learned to appreciate the technical complexity of Mitchell's operations. What appeared to be a simple sniper shot actually involved calculations that accounted for dozens of variables, many of which traditional snipers never considered. Chief, we're detecting electronic communications from the compound that suggest Kassab is planning to move within the hour, reported Sergeant Torres, Mitchell's spotter and communications specialist. If we're going to engage, it needs to be soon. Rodriguez confirmed the intelligence through his own team's electronic surveillance equipment. Kassab was indeed coordinating some kind of movement, probably to a more secure location that would make future targeting much more difficult. Overwatch, you are cleared for engagement when ready. All friendly forces are in safe positions. Copy that, Chief. Beginning final preparations for engagement. Through his scope, Rodriguez watched Mitchell's team conduct their pre-shot procedures. Environmental sensors were deployed, ballistic calculations were verified, and final equipment checks were completed. The professionalism and precision were remarkable to observe. Chief, we're detecting additional personnel entering the compound, Torres reported. Count is now 6 individuals in the target area, including Kassab. Rodriguez confirmed the observation through his own optics. Several armed men had joined Kassab in the courtyard, creating a more complex targeting situation. Mitchell would need to ensure her shot eliminated only the intended target without causing unnecessary casualties. Overwatch target is isolated on the north side of the courtyard. Clean shot available with minimal risk to other personnel. Copy that, Chief. We have positive identification and clear firing solution. Engaging in 30 seconds. Rodriguez found himself holding his breath as he prepared to witness another of Mitchell's extraordinary shots. At 3,800 meters, this would be even more challenging than the shot that had first brought her to his attention. 5 seconds to engagement, Mitchell announced over the radio. Rodriguez watched through his scope as Kassab moved across the compound courtyard, completely unaware that death was tracking him from nearly 4 kilometers away. The other personnel in the area were positioned far enough from Kassab to be safe from the massive .50 caliber round that was about to be fired. The shot, when it came, was accompanied by Mitchell's calm voice. Round fired. Time of flight 8 seconds. Rodriguez counted the seconds, watching Kassab continue his movement across the courtyard while the bullet covered the vast distance between shooter and target. At 8 seconds exactly, Kassab suddenly collapsed, the victim of another impossible shot. Target eliminated, Rodriguez confirmed. Single shot, immediate effect. Outstanding shooting, Overwatch. Copy that, Chief. Thank you for the confirmation. But the operation wasn't over. Within minutes of Kassab's elimination, Rodriguez observed significant activity in the compound. Armed men were taking defensive positions and preparing what appeared to be a coordinated response to the attack. Chief, we're detecting radio communications that suggest they're calling for reinforcements, Torres reported. Estimated 20 to 30 additional personnel en route to your area. This was exactly the kind of situation where coordination between Mitchell's team and Rodriguez's SEAL team proved valuable. Mitchell could eliminate high-value targets at impossible distances, but dealing with large numbers of hostile personnel required different capabilities. Overwatch. Recommend you begin extraction procedures. My team will handle any follow-up requirements. Negative, Chief. We can provide precision supporting fires if you encounter the reinforcements. Rodriguez considered the offer. Having Mitchell's team available for long-range support could be invaluable if his team encountered the approaching hostile forces during their own extraction. Copy that, Overwatch. Maintain position and be prepared to provide fires on targets of opportunity. Over the next hour, Rodriguez's team observed the compound and surrounding area as hostile reinforcements arrived. The precision elimination of Kassab had clearly disrupted whatever operation was being planned, but it had also attracted attention that could complicate extraction for both teams. Chief, we have eyes on a vehicle convoy approaching from the east, Mitchell reported. 3 vehicles, approximately 15 personnel, all armed. Rodriguez confirmed the observation and began calculating how the approaching convoy might affect his team's extraction route. The vehicles were positioned to potentially intercept any ground movement away from the area. Overwatch, can you engage the convoy without compromising your position? Affirmative, Chief. We can eliminate the lead vehicle and force the convoy to stop in a location where they can't effectively pursue ground movements. Rodriguez authorized the engagement, and once again found himself witnessing Mitchell's extraordinary capabilities. The lead vehicle was eliminated with a single shot at over 4,000 meters, causing the convoy to stop and take defensive positions rather than continuing their advance. Outstanding shooting, Overwatch. That's bought us the time we need for extraction. Both teams successfully extracted from the area without further incident, but the operation had demonstrated the value of their coordination. Mitchell's team had eliminated a high-value target and provided supporting fires, while Rodriguez's SEAL team had provided security and battle damage assessment. During the post-operation debrief, Rodriguez reflected on how much his understanding of sniper operations had changed since first witnessing Mitchell's impossible shot. She hadn't just broken a marksmanship record, she had redefined what was possible when advanced technology was combined with exceptional human skill and training. Chief, Command is requesting a formal recommendation about expanding this coordination model to other SEAL teams, Colonel Hayes informed him during the debrief. Rodriguez didn't hesitate in his response. Ma'am, I strongly recommend expanding the program. Mitchell's team provides capabilities that perfectly complement SEAL operations. The coordination has already proven its value in multiple successful missions. Hayes smiled as she closed the files. That's exactly what Colonel Mitchell said about working with SEAL teams. It appears this partnership has exceeded everyone's expectations. As Rodriguez left the debriefing room, he thought about the woman with the Barrett 50, who had accidentally crossed his path in those Afghan mountains. What had started as a chance encounter had evolved into a partnership that was changing how Special Operations Forces thought about long-range, precision fires and inter-unit coordination. The record-breaking shot that had first caught his attention was impressive, but Mitchell's real achievement was demonstrating how technology, training, and coordination could create capabilities that exceeded the sum of their individual parts. She had shown that the future of special operations lay not just in individual excellence, but in combining different specialties to achieve results that neither could accomplish alone. Rodriguez knew he would remember that first impossible shot for the rest of his career, but more importantly, he would remember the woman who made it and how she had changed his understanding of what was possible when exceptional people pushed the boundaries of human capability.